Roman Reigns just committed the most shocking betrayal in WWE history by turning his back on Seth Rollins at the worst possible moment, while Brock Lesnar simultaneously declared war on Cody Rhodes and the Vision in a night of chaos that will change WWE forever. What we witnessed wasn't just unexpected, it was the complete destruction of trust, loyalty, and every alliance we thought existed in WWE, as Roman proved he's still the most ruthless manipulator in wrestling by using Seth as a pawn in his own master plan. And if you think this betrayal was shocking, wait until you understand what Brock Lesnar targeting both Cody Rhodes and the Vision means for the entire power structure of WWE going forward. But here's the question that should make every wrestling fan's mind explode with theories and speculation: why would Roman Reigns return specifically to betray Seth Rollins? What does Brock Lesnar's simultaneous attack on multiple targets reveal about a larger conspiracy? And how do these two separate incidents connect into what could be the most elaborate storyline WWE has ever constructed? Because what happened tonight wasn't random chaos, it was calculated destruction executed by two of wrestling's most dangerous minds, and the implications could reshape WWE's entire landscape in ways nobody saw coming. The return that nobody expected. Let me break down the most shocking sequence of events in modern WWE history by starting with Roman Reigns' completely unexpected return that immediately changed the entire dynamic of what everyone thought was going to be a standard Seth Rollins segment. Seth Rollins was in the ring cutting a passionate promo about his ongoing rivalry with various competitors, his role as a locker room leader, and his commitment to fighting for WWE's future against corporate manipulation and manufactured storylines. The crowd was engaged with Seth's typical intensity and genuine emotion, completely unprepared for what was about to happen when the arena suddenly went dark in that specific way that tells wrestling audiences something massive is about to occur. When Roman Reigns' music hit, the crowd reaction was volcanic, not just because the tribal chief was returning after an extended absence, but because his presence in Seth's segment created immediate questions about whether this would be confrontation or unexpected alliance. Roman's entrance had a different energy than his typical methodical approach. There was something calculated in his eyes that suggested this return wasn't about making a statement or reclaiming championships, but about executing a specific plan that had been developing during his absence. The way Roman slowly walked to that ring while maintaining intense eye contact with Seth created unbearable tension as everyone tried to predict whether the tribal chief was there as friend, foe, or something more complicated than either option. The false sense of security that made everything worse. What made Roman's eventual betrayal so devastating was the way he initially created a false sense of alliance with Seth that made everyone believe we were witnessing the formation of an unstoppable partnership against common enemies. Roman's first words to Seth weren't threatening or confrontational, they were calculated to create trust and lower Seth's defenses before delivering the ultimate backstabbing that would leave the architect completely vulnerable. "Seth," Roman said with that trademark intensity that makes every word feel significant, "I've been watching everything that's been happening in my absence. I've seen how you've been fighting against the Vision, standing up to corporate control, trying to protect what we built together in the Shield." The crowd was getting excited because this sounded like Roman acknowledging Seth's leadership and possibly offering support against the forces that had been making Seth's life difficult during Roman's extended absence from WWE programming. "You've been doing it alone, carrying weight that should be shared, fighting battles that are too big for one man no matter how tough or determined he is." Seth's visible relief and gratitude at what sounded like Roman offering partnership proved that even the architect, someone who should know better after years of Shield drama, could be manipulated when he desperately wanted to believe in renewed brotherhood. The moment everything changed forever, the betrayal came at the exact moment when Seth had completely let his guard down, believing that Roman's return meant the reformation of their legendary partnership against common enemies threatening WWE's future. Roman's sudden Superman punch came from nowhere, not during a heated argument or after escalating tension, but in the middle of what appeared to be genuine reconciliation between two former brothers discussing strategy for upcoming battles. The sound of Roman's fist connecting with Seth's jaw wasn't the typical wrestling impact, it carried the weight of genuine betrayal and calculated deception that immediately told audiences this wasn't spontaneous conflict but premeditated destruction. Seth's expression as he fell wasn't just selling physical impact, it was authentic shock and emotional devastation from someone who had just realized that his trust had been weaponized against him in the most personal way possible. But Roman didn't stop with just one punch, he methodically delivered a spear that folded Seth in half, proving that this wasn't about sending a message or creating storyline drama but about inflicting maximum physical and psychological damage. The brutality of Roman's continued assault on a defenseless Seth proved that whatever plan the tribal chief had been developing during his absence involved completely destroying anyone who might stand between him and his ultimate objectives. The explanation that made it even worse: as Seth lay helpless in the ring, Roman grabbed a microphone and delivered an explanation for his betrayal that was so calculated and cold-blooded that it proved the tribal chief had been planning this psychological warfare for weeks or months. "Did you really think I came back for you, Seth?" Roman's voice carried that dangerous edge mixed with contempt that immediately established this wasn't about competitive rivalry but genuine disdain for someone he viewed as beneath his level. "Did you actually believe that the tribal chief needed Seth Rollins?" That I would return to WWE to be your partner, your ally, your equal in some desperate fight against whoever you've been whining about? The cruelty in Roman's words wasn't typical wrestling heel work, it was authentic character assassination designed to destroy Seth's confidence and self-worth while establishing that their entire Shield history meant nothing compared to Roman's current agenda. I came back because I realized something during my absence. Seth Rollins is the perfect example of everything holding WWE back. You're so desperate to be relevant, so desperate to matter, that you'll believe anything anyone tells you if it makes you feel important. The crowd was getting uncomfortable because Roman wasn't just attacking Seth physically, he was systematically dismantling his character and legacy in ways that felt more like genuine cruelty than entertainment. Brock Lesnar's entrance that created total chaos just when everyone thought Roman's betrayal of Seth was the shocking moment of the night. Brock Lesnar's music hit and created a level of chaos that immediately suggested something much larger was happening than anyone understood. Brock's entrance wasn't his typical measured approach, he charged to the ring with focused intensity that suggested specific targets and predetermined violence rather than general destruction or random opponent selection. The immediate question was whether Brock was there to capitalize on Seth's vulnerable condition, confront Roman about his return, or something completely unexpected that would add another layer to this already complex situation. But Brock's attention wasn't focused on either Roman or Seth. His eyes were locked on the entrance ramp with predatory focus that told everyone he was waiting for specific targets to appear. When Cody Rhodes and members of the Vision emerged, the entire arena erupted because suddenly this wasn't about individual rivalries but about multiple storylines colliding in ways that created completely unpredictable dynamics. The attack that targeted everyone. What happened next was absolute pandemonium as Brock Lesnar began systematically attacking members of the Vision while simultaneously targeting Cody Rhodes in a display of violence that seemed designed to send messages to multiple factions simultaneously. Brock's first F5 on a Vision member wasn't just impressive, it was statement violence that immediately established he wasn't there for competitive wrestling but for systematic destruction of everyone who had been positioned as major players during his absence. But Brock didn't ignore Cody either, he delivered devastating punishment to the American Nightmare that proved whatever Brock's agenda was. It included making sure WWE's corporate favorite understood that championship status meant nothing against Beast Incarnate's raw power. The coordination of Brock's attacks suggested this wasn't random chaos but calculated strategy to weaken multiple power structures simultaneously, creating opportunities for someone, possibly Roman, to seize control during the resulting confusion. Roman's visible satisfaction while watching Brock destroy everyone else proved these two legends might be working together in some capacity, creating an alliance that would be absolutely unstoppable if fully realized. The Vision's response that made everything worse. The Vision's attempted response to Brock's assault only made the situation more chaotic as their usual effective teamwork completely broke down against the Beast Incarnate's overwhelming individual dominance and Roman's strategic positioning. Every time Vision members tried to coordinate attacks on Brock, Roman would interfere just enough to disrupt their strategy without fully committing to either side, creating confusion about his ultimate allegiances and objectives. The frustration visible on the Vision members' faces proved they recognized they were being systematically outmaneuvered by two legends who had decades more experience manipulating chaos than they had dealing with it. Cody's attempts to rally everyone against the dual threat of Roman and Brock demonstrated leadership but couldn't overcome the fundamental reality that two of wrestling's most dominant forces had apparently decided to work together. The complete breakdown of any coherent strategy from WWE's top stars proved that Roman's return and Brock's attack had successfully created exactly the chaos that would allow them to reshape WWE's power structure according to their own vision. Seth's recovery that led to more tragedy while chaos reigned around him. Seth Rollins attempted to recover and rejoin the fight, but his efforts only led to more devastating punishment that proved Roman's betrayal had strategic purpose beyond just personal cruelty. Every time Seth tried to stand, Roman was there to deliver additional punishment that kept the architect neutralized and unable to provide leadership that might have helped organize effective resistance against the two-man wrecking crew. The systematic nature of Roman's continued assault on Seth proved this wasn't about finishing one betrayal but about completely removing someone from the equation who might otherwise rally opposition against whatever larger plan was unfolding. Seth's visible frustration and helplessness as he repeatedly tried and failed to impact the situation created genuine sympathy from audiences who recognized his determination even as they witnessed his complete inability to affect outcomes. The juxtaposition of Seth's noble failure against Roman's cold efficiency proved that good intentions mean nothing against superior strategy and willingness to cross moral lines that heroes won't cross. The aftermath that left everyone questioning everything when the smoke finally cleared and security forces managed to restore some semblance of order. The visual tableau left behind created more questions than answers about what had just transpired and what it meant for WWE's future. Seth Rollins lay broken in the ring, betrayed by someone he thought might be an ally, unable to protect anyone including himself from the chaos that had erupted around him. Cody Rhodes and Vision members were scattered throughout the arena, victims of Brock Lesnar's systematic violence that had targeted them specifically rather than being random destruction. Roman Reigns stood tall surveying the destruction he had helped create, his betrayal of Seth and apparent coordination with Brock suggesting master plans that nobody had anticipated or prepared for. Brock Lesnar's satisfied expression while standing over his Victims proved he had accomplished exactly what he intended, whatever those intentions actually were, beyond creating maximum chaos and damage. The implications of this multi-layered assault on WWE's power structure would reverberate for weeks or months as everyone tried to understand motivations, alliances, and what comes next in this completely unpredictable situation. The backstage fallout that revealed deeper plots. According to backstage sources, the immediate fallout from Roman's betrayal and Brock's assault created emergency meetings throughout WWE as management tried to understand whether what they witnessed was a proved storyline or talents going into business for themselves. Multiple wrestlers reportedly confronted both Roman and Brock separately, demanding explanations for targeting people who had done nothing to provoke such violence during their respective absences from WWE programming. The most shocking revelation came from sources suggesting that Roman and Brock had apparently been communicating during their absences, potentially planning this coordinated assault on WWE's current power structure. WWE officials were allegedly torn between disciplining two of their biggest stars for creating unauthorized chaos and capitalizing on the buzz and attention that this shocking night of betrayal had generated. Seth Rollins reportedly required medical attention beyond typical wrestling bumps, with sources suggesting the attack had caused legitimate injury that would affect his ability to compete in upcoming scheduled appearances. The Paul Heyman connection nobody saw coming. The real complexity of this situation became apparent when Paul Heyman's involvement was revealed, suggesting that the entire night's chaos might have been orchestrated by wrestling's greatest strategic mind working behind scenes. Sources suggest Paul had been advising both Roman and Brock during their respective absences, potentially creating the coordination between two legends who would seem to be pursuing independent agendas. The fact that Paul serves as special counsel to Roman while having legendary history with Brock creates perfect conditions for manipulation that could benefit both clients while destroying everyone who stands between them and complete WWE dominance. Heyman's strategic genius combined with Roman's political maneuvering and Brock's physical dominance creates potentially unstoppable force that could remake WWE according to their collective vision regardless of corporate preferences or fan expectations. The revelation that all tonight's chaos might have been carefully orchestrated strategy rather than spontaneous conflict changes how every action should be interpreted and evaluated going forward. The long-term implications that change everything. Roman's betrayal of Seth combined with Brock's assault on Cody and the vision creates long-term storyline possibilities that could dominate WWE programming for months while fundamentally reshaping competitive hierarchies. The obvious question is whether Roman and Brock will formalize an alliance or continue working as independent forces whose objectives happen to align through Heyman's strategic coordination and manipulation. Seth's position becomes incredibly sympathetic, betrayed by former brother, unable to trust anyone, forced to rebuild from scratch while dealing with physical and psychological trauma from unexpected assault. Cody Rhodes and the Vision must now deal with threats from multiple directions while questioning whether they can trust anyone given how completely they were blindsided by coordinated assault from legends. The unpredictability created by Roman's return and Brock's violence means that traditional power structures and assumed alliances can no longer be taken for granted in WWE's suddenly chaotic landscape. Conclusion: the night that changed WWE forever. Roman Reigns' shocking betrayal of Seth Rollins combined with Brock Lesnar's simultaneous assault on Cody Rhodes and the Vision represents the most complex and unpredictable night in recent WWE history. The layered betrayals, unclear motivations, and potential coordination between multiple legendary forces create storytelling possibilities that could dominate wrestling for months while keeping audiences genuinely uncertain about outcomes. Seth Rollins' victimization creates natural sympathy while his determination to overcome betrayal provides compelling character development opportunities that showcase resilience and growth. The possibility that Roman and Brock are working together under Paul Heyman's strategic guidance creates potentially unstoppable force that would require unprecedented unity among current roster to overcome. Most importantly, this night proved that legends can return and immediately reshape entire landscapes through combination of physical dominance, strategic thinking, and willingness to cross lines that current generation hasn't been willing to cross. Can you believe what just happened? Did you see Roman's betrayal coming? Do you think he and Brock are working together? How can Seth recover from such devastating psychological and physical assault? Explode in the comments with your theories about what this all means. Destroy that like button if your mind is blown by these shocking developments, subscribe for continued coverage of the fallout from the most chaotic night in WWE history, and share this with everyone who needs to understand that WWE will never be the same. Roman Reigns has proven the tribal chief answers to nobody, Brock Lesnar has declared war on everyone, and Seth Rollins has learned that trust in WWE will destroy you.